Here we are again, part 2, how to paint bad, where I'm documenting myself painfully learning how to paint. It's actually been fun. The videos are mostly for myself, so that when I get better, I'm able to look back at the process and see how I've done. This is going to be another one where I'm doing the exercises. I want to get better at painting trees, and I'm basing these exercises off of something I saw in the Oliver Pyle YouTube, which I'll link to once again at the bottom. So once again, I'm going to try to do a landscape with distant trees, and then I'll do some smaller mid-ground trees over here. So one thing that I noticed is that Oliver didn't put a wash down when he did his landscape portion. So there was no wash. I'm just going to go straight on. We go with the sky. Another difference here is that I'm using a rougher textured paper. This should be much wetter. I'm just going and grabbing some more water. There we go. That's more like it. I do want this to get lighter as I get further down. More. Okay, that's going to do it for a sky. So I'm going to do the ground with raw sienna. Then I'll add more pigment as we move closer to the viewer. Then leave some of these breaks in here just for some variation. One of the cool things about this kind of paper is that you can get some texture here. So I'm going to let this dry for a second because I don't want it to be too wet when I add the distant trees. I do want them to diffuse quite a bit because the further away you get from the viewer, the more things lose contrast and edge, so they should all have soft edges. And it's actually not too wet right now, so I'm going to make a really thick paint so that it sticks well. So it's not going to be that much water. It's going to be just a heavy concentration of pigment, and I want it to be a bit gray. So I'll add some of that background color, the cobalt blue, to it. Whoops, I added way too much there. Okay, so we'll see what happens here. So I'm just going to kind of dot these on, see what happens. So I don't want this to move too much, but I don't want them to have defined edges either. Okay, so those should diffuse. I want to come in with a smaller brush. And I'm going to get that darker, I gotta stop coughing, that darker color. The advice that was given is not to just make a darker version of the other color, but a more gray version. So this will be a desaturated one. I'll kind of put in some dark spots here. Just to kind of add a little bit of visual interest. That ended up diffusing quite a bit. Maybe it was too wet. I think that could have been too wet. Yeah, so I already made a mistake there. I should have been way thicker. So I guess thicker paint sticks better. I want that to be more gray. There's too much color. Thicker still. I want to get thicker. So it kind of washed out these areas, but maybe we'll be able to salvage it still. All right. Let this dry just a little more. Seems with watercolor you really have to pay attention to the different levels of wetness, because you can do different techniques depending on what the level of wetness is. So I think this is going to start cauliflowering because that paper might be too dry. So let's see what happens there. So I could still see here. You might not be able to see it on camera, but the paper's sticking up off the water a little bit. It's not really soaking in as I'd hoped. Okay. So I'm going to make a color with some burnt umber. And some blue. And I want this to be a sticky color also. And sticky just meaning a lot of pigment, not as much water. It's one of the hard things with watercolors, dealing with this different levels of drying. So I'm just going to draw in just a few lines in here to show that these are trees. That one's not too straight. Yeah, it's not really looking great to me. Yeah, I know I said I was going to do some foreground trees, but I feel like I really need to practice these background ones, so I'll try doing another one over here. Okay. Okay. So this time I'm going to try to make sure that the color's sticky when I start. Yeah, it might be helpful if I prepared these colors beforehand. Okay, so let's try again. Big tree there. So I don't want it to look too patterned. Okay, and I'm going to pull out a bluer color, something a bit cooler and darker, but I want to keep it sticky. And kind of focus it here on the right side. See what happens here. I'm gonna keep these. Going all the way down to the ground. Okay, let's see what happens here. Okay, so with that same dark color, I'm gonna add some more shadow towards the bottom. This kind of, it might be too dry now. So I think it is too dry. Yeah, very dry. Okay. And then final step is just add in some trunks. Sticky color again. Just a few very small. Okay. We'll let that sit. It does look a little better than the first one. Okay. Just let that dry, and then I'm going to try again. Definitely improved, but I think I want things to be a little wetter, or I have to move a little faster. So okay, I'm back. This is about as dry. That's fairly dry. I'm gonna put on a patch real quick. I got this step 1 21 milligram patch, and I have been smoking, oh man, a long time, maybe close to 20 years now. I really haven't thought about it. I'm either 36 or 37 right now. I think it's 36, but I'm not too sure. So yeah, me and my sister, we were once talking about how messed up the world was, you know, how many bad things exist, and we were wondering, you know, how could any individual possibly change, you know, anything for the better. And she had this really interesting idea that I liked, and she said it might be hard to just directly change things, especially in our time, but one of the things that we can do is plant seeds, and over time those seeds will grow, and hopefully, you know, a better world will emerge. And even if it's not really a better world for us, it could be a better world for the future. Okay, so I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna try this again. So yesterday you guys saw what well, maybe most of you probably didn't watch it, but this is what we had yesterday. I tried some mid-ground trees and some background trees, and you could see the mess I made. The type of paper was different. Satin, smooth paper. This one's a bit rougher. I don't think it was totally the paper that was causing the issue, but I think I do like this paper better. But this attempt was still better than whatever I did yesterday, and this attempt is better than this one. So let's try it again. Yeah, and yeah, this is really the first time I've sat down and practiced anything with painting, you know, in this kind of methodical manner. But I bet you that it'll be beneficial. I do like the color of the sky better here. It's kind of cool. I think that there's a little more raw sienna in it, which just made it seem a little more natural and earthy. Okay, so I'm going to grab that same blue, and I think I want there to be quite a bit more water so that it doesn't dry so fast. Okay, so let's go here. Okay, there's our sky. And then let's get some ground. I'm just grabbing the raw sienna again. Yep. And then I want this to be wet enough. I'm hoping that that first bit was wet enough. Sorry, I gotta go over the camera here. As I'm going towards the viewer, I'm adding more warm colors, more saturation. Okay. So I want to get in here quick this time. Okay. So I want a sticky kind of... Let's test it out. It's not sticky enough. You can see it diffusing. That's something I saw Oliver Pyle doing. So we need way more paint. So you gotta be fast with this. That's one of the fun parts of watercolors. You just gotta really be fast. Okay, there we go. I think this will do it. I gotta break that up a little. Okay, and while this is going, I'm gonna try to get a sticky shadow color, but I don't want it to be too dark. I don't want it to be too dark, but I do want it to be gray. And I want this to diffuse. Okay, and then we'll add some towards the bottom. And then add the trunks. Oops. You know, this may be just a bit too dark. That was too wet there. let that be. And let's see what happens. Okay, I'm going to make one final attempt here for this. I drew some arrows just so we can see the order. Didn't do so well. Move a little quicker this time. I think that there needs to be less contrast. Let's make these a little bigger. Okay. So then I want that darker color, just grayer, but not really much darker. So I'm gonna be really careful with this. Okay, I think that this will do it. It actually doesn't look much grayer, does it? It's about the same. Pretty hard to get that right. Okay, and I'll add some shadow. Okay. So now the trunks. You know what, I bet you I shouldn't be going up all the way to the top of these trees here. might look more natural if they didn't. Just realized that. So look at that. That makes a lot more sense. Don't go to the top of the trees. So maybe that's a lesson I'll learn. And maybe that's a lesson I've learned here. All right, I'll bring you back when it dries. Okay, so it's dry here. These are 4 attempts at doing distance trees. First one, second one, third one. Oh, first one, second one, third one, fourth one. And this is feeling pretty dry right now. These don't look great to me. If I had to judge, I would say that one's the best. That one's the second best. Third best. And fourth best. Tell me what you think. Which ones, how would you rank these? I know that none of them look great, and it seems like I still have to practice a lot to master the skill, which is something I'll keep doing. But hopefully I get better over time. If you guys know what I did wrong, please tell me in the comments. I'm looking forward to hearing what anyone has to say and how I could improve. This one, I think I was too wet when I painted it, and there's a lot of hard edges here, which I was hoping not to get. And then I think it dried too much when I went back over it. This one, these shadows at the bottom, they seem too defined. Maybe that's an issue, but at least the trees were dispersed more. This one, you know, I'm not even sure what the issue is. Maybe with all of these, I think that there's an issue with the color of the trees being almost exactly the same as the land. Also, you know, with these two, there seems to be too much contrast between the lights and the darks in the trees. I know, like, if we're looking at something that's that far away, I don't think the lights and the darks should be so far apart. This one just kind of looks like a mess. I did it really fast, and maybe there's too much diffusion here. One issue that I think exists is these trees are way darker than the background, and they should be closer to the background color since they're supposed to be so far away. So, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments, and, you know, plant some seeds.